confessions.
Of a dirty football player? Well, explain that to us, Johnny.
Well, you know, years ago, Pete Rozelle told me that he called me into the office about hitting the guy in the mouth. He said, you have to confess. So that was the lead into my book once I retired. So I confessed to Pete Rozelle and the rest of the world.
Were you a dirty football player, just a great hard football player?
Well, I was not dirty, never dirty, but I was aggressive, except when I played against you.
Johnny Sample, a fierce competitor, a man who played with fire in his heart and never backed down from anyone. He won championships, left his mark on the game, and stirred up more than his fair share of controversy. After retiring, he even wrote a book titled Confessions of a Dirty Ballplayer, where he exposed the rough, behind-the-scenes reality of pro football, including the way players were treated and the dark side of the game. It was controversial, but it was pure Johnny Sample, honest, raw, and unapologetic. Johnny Sample played 11 seasons, made an impression, won both NFL championships and a Super Bowl, and left a legacy bigger than just stats.
I'm probably a product of his aggressiveness. My back is bothering me every day.
We all love each other. What'd you do to him?
Johnny Sample was a good cornerback in the sense that he knew offenses. He knew where things were coming from. And that's what the key to the game, it is a mental game. And but Johnny would blow you away in a minute. If you're gonna catch it in his territory, you're gonna pay the price.
There's no doubt about it. He was one of the toughest. Probably borderline dirty. No problem. Had a big mouth.
Sample was raised in Virginia and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and made his way into the NFL after a standout career at Maryland State College, now University of Maryland Eastern Shore, an HBCU where he was an All-American. He was a multi-sport athlete, playing football, baseball, basketball, shot put in track and field, and even gymnastics. He entered the NFL in 1958 with the Baltimore Colts, and it ended up being the perfect time to join. Sample was a rookie during what many call the greatest game ever played, the 1958 NFL Championship against the New York Giants. The Colts won in overtime, and Sample became part of football history and a champion right out of the gate. He wasn't the biggest guy on the field, standing 6'1", at most a little over 200 pounds, but he played with unmatched toughness at defensive back and made plays as a kick and punt returner. Sample in 1959 was said to be the first player from a historically black university to participate in the College All-Star Game, an annual exhibition held between professional rookies and the reigning NFL champions.
But as a quarterback, you're out there on an island. You're out there by yourself. And when someone comes out and lines up in front of you, it's you and me. You know, that's what I used to tell the guys. You know, I say, buddy, today it's me and you all day. I don't care if you go to the locker room, go to take a shower, go and sit in row 3, I'm going to go with you. You know, and that's the kind of attitude you have to have. If you don't have that attitude as a quarterback, you'll never succeed. You know, you cannot have fear.
The Colts would go on to play the Giants again in the NFL Championship in the 1959 season. Johnny Sample would help his team win, as this game would not be as close as the first one the year prior.
It turns out to be a big play for the Colts as Johnny Sample intercepts and sprints down the sideline to make his way across for a Baltimore touchdown. 28, Giants 9, and Big Daddy Lipscomb congratulates Sample as they leave the field.
The Colts would become then two-time NFL champions and finish their season in style.
But Johnny Sample makes his second sensational interception. Sample returns all the way to the New York 26.
Sample played 3 years with the Colts before being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1961. He spent 2 seasons there. His most outstanding year was 1961 for the Steelers, when he intercepted a career-high 8 passes for 141 return yards and 1 touchdown, and led the NFL in punt return yards. He joined the Washington Redskins in 1963 and spent 3 seasons with the team. Sample didn't shy away from calling out the unfairness he experienced there during that time. His time in Washington was as much about breaking barriers as it was about football. Johnny Sample's biggest moment came later in his career with the New York Jets. He joined the team in 1966 and was a key piece of their defense. Playing with the ever-so-popular Joe Namath, one of the top quarterbacks of his era, Sample was able to add to the Jets' defense, making them tough for offenses to deal with. In every battle on the field, throughout Sample's career, no matter how controversial his career was, he played with respect and integrity.
Now back at their 20, slowing upfield, and Arizona's Taylor with a good grasp for the right hand. And he's being pursued by Johnny Sample, and Sample finally gets to him.
This time period in football was rough and tough, even on Johnny Sample. Yet with any positive play and offense gained, it seemed Sample would always find a way to get his payback or revenge. Johnny Sample never had the smoothest relationship with the NFL. He was outspoken, critical of coaches, owners, and even the league itself. He called out unfair contracts and the way players were treated, and the NFL didn't like that. He joined the New York Jets, who were a part of the AFL. Joining the Jets wasn't just about extending his career, it was about proving the NFL wrong, proving that he could still play at the highest level, and that the league had underestimated him. In Super Bowl III, Jets versus Colts, Sample made history. He was one of the team captains, a leader of that defense, and helped the Jets pull off one of the greatest upsets in sports history, beating his old team, the Baltimore Colts. That victory cemented the AFL's legitimacy and changed the NFL forever. For Sample, it was the crowning achievement of his career. By this time, Sample had already built up the reputation of being a so-called dirty player, or as he would say, rather aggressive. So when the Jets would play the Colts, his former team, in Super Bowl III, tensions were definitely high, and anticipation for the game was great.
In 58 and 59, you played in a game similar to this in the NFL game. Do you think that perhaps fate can repeat itself? I know you had a great game in 59, intercepting a pass and running it back for a touchdown.
Well, I hope so. This is the biggest game I've ever played in my life, and that means more to me and to the American Football League than any game that's probably been ever played in the American Football League history. And to me personally, playing against the Baltimore Colts, my ex-teammates, and
Tell me this, John. You're an 11-year veteran. Do you think that when Earl Morrall starts looking for a weakness, he's going to look at Johnny Sample?
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you this. I hope he throws the ball to the man I'm covering. I want him to throw it to the man I'm covering because I know I'm going to be ready for the ball game, and I'm going to do my job in 170% of it.
When Johnny Sample joined the Jets, the team already had a rising star who was bigger than football itself, Joe Namath. Broadway Joe wasn't just a quarterback. He was a cultural phenomenon. The fur coat, the sunglasses, the nightlife. Namath brought swagger to a sport that was still buttoned up. He attracted fans who had never cared about football before. To many, Namath was the Jets, and he gave the AFL a face the whole country could recognize. But behind the flash, Namath was a fierce competitor. His confidence spilled into the locker room, and his teammates believed because he believed. When Namath famously guaranteed a win before Super Bowl III, the world thought it was cocky bravado. But to the Jets, it was fuel. And then there was Weeb Ewbank, the steady hand, the teacher, the only head coach to win championships in both the NFL and the AFL. Ewbank had coached Johnny Sample back in Baltimore with the Colts, and now their paths crossed again in New York. He wasn't flashy like Namath, but his calm, disciplined approach balanced the Jets' swagger.
All I can say is that we're going to show up. I'm proud of our football team. I think we have a good football team, and nobody knows what the outcome will come of any football game. That's what makes it the greatest thing in entertainment.
Joe, we're just about hours away now from this all-important game. You know, you've been down here now, I guess, about 9 or 10 days, and I don't think I've ever seen an athlete with such an amount of pressure on him. Now, are you feeling it now as you get close to this ball game?
No, not at all, Bob. I think if there's any pressure at all, it's the individual's fault. I don't remember the last time I felt pressure. Even when I first signed as a rookie, they said, well, there's a lot of pressure on you. I don't feel that way. I know I can do my job better than anybody else, I feel. And doing my job, there's so much involved in the thinking part of it that you just don't have time to be emotionally involved in something else. The main fellas on the spot are those front five. Now, if they don't do their job, then I'm going to be on the spot and say, but if they're doing their job, we're going to win the ball game. They haven't considered our defense enough. They haven't considered our offense enough. And I really think, well, they have to be overrating Baltimore for this game with us. I mean, that's ridiculous. They could be playing Denver or Miami tomorrow or whatever, and you make them a 20-point favorite. I don't think too many people are going to go with it. One of the reporters asked Paul Rochester, defensive tackle, on our way down here, said, Rocky, what are your feelings about being a 17-point underdog? He said, well, it's a whole heck of a lot better than being a 19-point favorite. We were favored by 19 in 2 games this year, and we lost both of them, straight up. So every next game is the biggest game of your life. This is the next game, so it has to be the biggest game of my life. But it's the World Championship. I'll go around and talk to some guys and say, well, listen, now, you know, this is a NFL, and we have something to do for our league. We have to win it. And these guys all feel that way. But for this game, there's so much riding on it that we don't need anything extra, any kind of added incentive to be up for this football game.
Good. Joe, thank you so much.
Super Bowl III wasn't just an upset. It was a cultural moment. The old NFL guard versus the new. Tradition versus swagger. And in the middle of it, Johnny Sample, Joe Namath, and Weeb Ewbank, along with the whole New York Jets, carved their names into football history. Together, with Ewbank's leadership, Namath's star power, and Sample's edge on defense, the Jets became something bigger than just a football team. They were underdogs who captured the imagination of fans and changed the way America looked at the AFL. This game was a battle, and it was a battle that the Jets handled well. Johnny Sample still, however, remained a villain to most.
A 58-yard run, I'd fallen down and rolled over on my stomach, and he happened to be just following up and accidentally stepped on my crotch. And needless to say, that hurt a little bit, and absolute intentional.
And some unhappiness now. Matty and Johnny Sample going at it.
What Tom Matt didn't know is that Johnny Sample wasn't the one who stepped on him. Instead, it was Sample's teammate John Elliott, who accidentally stepped on Matt. Tom Matt went on for the rest of his life holding on to that grudge, that belief that Sample stepped on him, but it wasn't true. In result of Matt's actions, the referee lost some of his teeth.
Well, I turn around to go after him, and the official is right there. He came up to me. I was broadcasting for one of the games, and he says, Tom, he says, do you know the Super Bowl? He said, you knocked out 4 of my teeth. And I said, I did what? He says, well, when you went after Sample, he says, I jumped in between you, and your face mask caught me in the mouth, and you knocked out 4 of my teeth.
He wanted to fight. He was really upset. I really wasn't that mad. He should have been happy he had a 50-yard run. Till this day, I think he's still a little upset. I've been to a couple of fairs where he was in attendance, and he wasn't very pleasant.
It seems that Sample's intimidation was that strong on the field. All in all, Sample had only respectful things to say when asked about Matt.
Personally, I like Tommy. He's a competitor. He works very hard. He doesn't step back from anyone, and that type of football player I respect.
Watching from the sideline, Earl Morrow. Looking, it's intercepted by Johnny Sample. That's the second New York interception. And he gets up and hands the ball floating over to...
As far as throwing the football was concerned, I told all the defensive back, he's
he's not going to throw the ball deep because he doesn't have that kind of arm. And even if he does try to throw it deep, it's going to be a hump in the ball. It won't be on a line, and you'll have a chance to react and go and catch the football. And that's the advantage we had on him. We knew what he could do and what he could not do.
Even though the Colts were a big-time favorite to win Super Bowl III, things did not go their way that day, and the Jets would bring a confidence and play that gave them the winning edge.
They sensed that they had to do something right now, because you could tell it walking off the field at halftime, looking in their faces, that those guys said, well, we were 18, 19, 21 points favored, and now we haven't scored a point. What's going on out here? What are we doing?
The Jets won this game and played well, and Johnny Sample had a dominating performance that would end up being the last game he played in, as he retired after this season. His attitude rubbed some people the wrong way. He gained a reputation as hard to coach or trouble in the locker room. But to others, he was a truth teller, a man ahead of his time who refused to stay quiet. The New York Jets made history winning Super Bowl III and celebrated in style. This would be the first Super Bowl won by the Jets.
Held that great called offense to 7 points. What was it?
Just effort and hard work.
John, what's your reaction to a great victory?
Well, you know, it's hard to explain how you feel. You know, after waiting for this ball game for 3 years and finally getting here, winning the ball game, it's a feeling that you just can't explain. I told Jerry Kramer a while ago I felt great. He said, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. They won it the previous 2 years, you know, so it's a great feeling, and it's an honor to be on the championship team.
I noticed you got into a few spats on the field. What was going on?
I was just trying to win the football game, you know. Anything else is going on, I don't know nothing about it. I'm just trying to win, and we won it, so that's what makes me happy.
All week long, you seem to be quietly confident of victory.
Well, I thought we were a better football team, everybody giving us credit, and I knew that we had a great football team to lick, but I thought if we played our best offensive and our best defensive game, we could still win it, which they did.
How do you feel right now?
I feel great.
What's going through your mind?
Well, it's great to come back and beat the team that lets you go.
Would you say that this had to be one of the team's greatest games?
I thought our whole team played a great game. Our defense did a fantastic job. They held the Baltimore Colts to 7 points. Anytime you hold anybody to 7 points, it's fantastic. Our offensive line didn't have a penalty. They didn't break down but one time. And when you're playing against guys that are that good, you're supposed to break down now and then. They're supposed to get back there and get you. And they just played great.
Matt, George Sauer just walked by and said this was the greatest game of your life. Was it?
Well, as I said before, I don't know. I have gained more yardage, but I never made as much money, so I guess he's right. I think over the past 2 years, out of a possible 28 games, they must have won, 25 or 26. So how can you take anything away from their great team? And it was just our afternoon. As I said to some of the reporters, I think it's time that reporters and newscasters stop talking about NFL, AFL. Let's talk about professional football teams. Because let's face it, the AFL has arrived. You know, we're as good as anyone on any given afternoon.
It's unbelievable upset.
How about Richardson? You and Richardson?
He's a good receiver. Yeah. He's a good receiver. Real good.
When I got up there, I guess they thought that I was going to say something negative about Pete Rozelle, about the National Football League, because I felt as if I was exiled or blackballed out of the National Football League.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. Money's not important, you know. It's the win. We're the world champs. That's the only important thing.
But I just wanted to thank the president of the American Football League. I wanted to thank the Baltimore Colts and a couple of guys that nobody ever mentions. You know, Weeb, Ewbank, I thought did a great job.
Well, congratulations again. Thank you very much.
When you talk about football players who shaped the game, not just on the field, but off it, you have to mention Johnny Sample, a champion, a fighter, a voice that could not be ignored. So was Johnny Sample a dirty football player, or just a man who played to win?